I mean, it's a twofold answer. One, as a writer, I was really interested in exploring ideas of violence, not just within the Latino culture, but in the dominant culture as well, and how our ideas of violence really inform masculinity. And just as I was thinking about it one day, my nephews were playing a video game where they were, decapitations, and one had 13 kills, and wow, I'm a father of 2 kids, so it really struck me. And then I started thinking about the icons that we grew up with, Bruce Lee, Charles Bronson, Don Corleone, Al Pacino and Scarface, and I think that we tend to revere men who ultimately settle the score with killing. And it's not just in cinema, but it's in the boardrooms of CEOs, Fortune 500 companies. It's on the professional playing fields. It dictates foreign policy. So it really kind of permeates our life. And I was really fascinated on the different ideas of power. And so that was the kind of the seed. And then I think Benjamin's character is an archetype, and he's immediately familiar in that way. In that he's a badass and he negotiates life that way. So the interesting thing for us was to take a character where I think there's an expectation that he will resolve the conflict using brute force, but to really kind of come up with a construct where he's not offered that, he doesn't have that option, and he therefore has to turn to a whole different way of operating and therefore growing as a human being. I think I pitched the idea to Benjamin, and then it took about 1.5 years to write it, and then it was a collaboration that I would write. He would give me feedback, tell me scenes that worked, that didn't work.
Almost a 4-year development process, 3.5 years. It's funny because a lot of people want to frame it as a returning to our roots kind of scenario. It's a neighborhood and it's a people that we've never been apart from. Yes, I've lived in New York. Yes, I live in Los Angeles. But all of my immediate family still resides in San Francisco.
I'm still there.
And we have never disconnected ourselves from that sense of belonging to both the neighborhood and the people that live there. So it wasn't so much a returning to home as it was a celebration of that which we already love and admire. Peter designed the character of Che loosely after a gentleman that we grew up with who was about 5 or 6 years older.
Whose name is Che.
Whose actual name is Che. He was born and raised in the Mission District. He founded one of the first lowrider clubs in the neighborhood. He's actually a muni bus driver and now trains muni bus drivers today. He was a single father. The major difference is he did not have a gay son. But what he does have, like my character, is a larger-than-life persona. And someone who's very idiosyncratic in the way he lives his life. His lifestyle is very much like the character in that he's almost like from another era in the way he dresses. The clothes are from the 40s and the 50s. It's very much an OG sensibility.
He's a veterano. Yeah. And there's a whole aesthetic that goes along with that lifestyle. It's not just him as a unique person, but there are other people who kind of live by that same aesthetic, by the kind of car they drive, the music.
So the music is very specific. It's from another era. It's usually oldies, R&B, and soul. The cars he drives are bombas. They're bombs that are not newer than 1960. And so there's ritual really in the way he comports himself and the way he assembles how he operates. And for me as an actor, to have someone like that to use as a personal touchstone, he was a treasure trove of information. And even the way he expresses himself, he became a great source of information for Peter. And so he not only helped us with some of the...
I stole some of his lines.
The whole stay brown, the philosophy.
Yeah.
What that really means is stay real. Don't forget who you are and where you come from. And they love it. We opened in San Francisco on April 16th. We had our national release on April 9th in New York and Los Angeles.
We were the #1 film in San Francisco because so many people turned out from the barrio and were seeing the film 2, 3, 4 times.
What we're most struck by as people emerge from the theaters is this tremendous sense of celebration and cultural pride, really. And we've been crisscrossing the country, going to question and answer periods with audiences, which we find are, for the most part, Latino, when you divide them by demographic. And there's an expression of satisfaction, I think, on the parts of the audience, and almost relief to see a slice of authentic Latino life portrayed on screen, because we all know that for the most part, when Hollywood puts out a movie that has Latino themes or cultures explored, they're usually not very dimensionally accurate.
Mm-hmm.
They don't reflect the complexity and sophistication that truly exists within our communities. And what we really strive for in the film, in addition to all of the examination of the heavy themes that we look at, was to capture, in a sense, what hangs in the balance oftentimes when you have a life of adversity, which is really the celebration of life, the opportunity for humor. And that's the way most people survive, whether you're Latino or any other. You have to balance adversity with levity. And people are getting the sense of that, I think.
I think too that, you know, we didn't set out to, there's no definitive Latino story, and there's no definitive mission story, because Latinos, they're so complex, and we're finding that, you know, we opened in New York, we had Puerto Rican, Dominican, and Cuban, Colombian Latinos coming, and Latinos come in all shapes and sizes and colors. You know, there are Afro-Latinos, there are full-blooded indigenous Latinos, there's
Chino Latino.
There's, you know, there's white Latinos, there's Chino Latinos, and so what we find is that this film, it's very it's a very urban and very specific aspect of the Latino experience, but it seems to be resonating with not just Latinos, but I think African American audiences are just now finding the film and really responding to it, and I think also the gay audience is also learning about the film and finding something in it as well. In fact, I did a Q&A on Sunday, and there was a white gay man who came out of the theater. This guy's like 40 years old, and he could barely hold it together, and he needed a hug. So I embraced him, and he just said, I'm not a Latino. He said I haven't spoken to my father in 6 years, and he said, this film, I need him to see this film. And so he found something within it as well, because we all have a father, we all have a mother.
Yeah. That's the commonality, really, and that's what's so exciting, really, as we see people responding to the film, is that yes, it's geographically and culturally specific. Yes, it's very, very detailed in that Latin authentic sense. But at the end of the day, if you come from a family, and most of us do, or if you've ever experienced love or the loss of it, or if you've ever experienced the sense or desire to have a feeling of belonging, which most of us have, you're going to find the material relatable. It's ultimately the great human drama. And as a result, depending on who you show the film to, whether it's a Latino-centric audience or principally African-American, or at the American Indian Film Festival in San Francisco, or an all-white crowd at Sundance, or at the Boston Independent or Seattle Independent Film Festival, people seem to be claiming ownership of it, which is kind of wonderful,